Hello, everyone. This is Quantum Truths JCK. This is JCK, and I want you to stop what you're doing. Just stop what you're doing right now, and I want you to listen to this because we're going to talk about sex. We're going to talk about sex, and we're going to talk about the M word. Do you know what the M word is? It's not muff. It's menopause. Okay. Now, if you're a guy and you're watching this, and you're a younger lady watching this, I think that you still need to pay attention to this because it's a really important topic, because it's about intimacy, relationships, and change, and how you adapt to change in relationships and all of that sort of stuff, that juicy stuff. And we're going to get down to it with this really, really amazing lady that I had to have on the show, because I realized that a lot of you, after last week's video where I was speaking about shame, were talking about this sort of stuff coming up in relationships. And I think that as soon as I saw Melissa Turnock speak on Mark Atwood's channel, and I saw her passion, and I saw her knowledge and her know-how on all things related to intimacy and the human body and how to deal with these changes, I had to talk to her. And so I've got Melissa here. She is an amazing coach, and she's an embodiment mentor. So she's going to talk about all of this body awareness. And she's in Sydney. So how are you, Melissa, my beautiful lady? How are you? Good morning. It's morning here.
Happy.
I'm so happy to have you.
Thanks, love. It's really, really exciting to go into this stuff again. And you know what was really interesting after Mark's thing was the number of people that said, oh, finally someone's talking about this. So we just need to keep talking about this so that the men and women can come out of hiding and go, oh, so this isn't only us that this is happening to. Right? Because we don't need that. We need the unity. We need you're not alone in this stuff. So it's awesome to be here. Thank you.
I know. I'm just so happy to have you, because this has been, and I've come out of past relationships, and I think that not just men don't know about this. I think that the women themselves don't know about this, and they don't know about their own body and what's going on in their body. And it really can break down a relationship, can't it? Because sometimes there are some men out there that just go, well, she's probably just going through the menopause, and they don't want to know about it, and they just shove it to the side. But this could be that thing that is the elephant in the room that can block and destroy relationships. But you're here because I want you to tell everyone your story about how you got to this point, and how you became such an expert, and also this amazing thing that you've written as well, and everything that you work with. So I want you to talk about you. I'm going to hand the reins over to you so that you can tell us about you and how you're so I love listening to you. So let me let you talk. Okay, go for it.
How I'm so excited about menopause. How could you be excited about menopause? Well, I'm excited about it because I'm on the other side of it. I'm only 53 and I'm done and dusted, but that was because chemotherapy took me into menopause, boom, like that. So I was pretty early on. But what I am at is at the end of it, where I am, I have a functioning vagina. I feel pleasure in ways I didn't used to. I get horny, like I look forward to him turning up at my house when I haven't, like all those things that menopause were like, I'm done, it's never gonna happen again. I'm gonna close up shop down there and give up. I've gone through it all. So that's why I'm so passionate about it. And when you said before about how women are so disconnected from menopause and they're like, oh God, I've suddenly got to pay attention to what's going on. I was reflecting on this. From day one, when we get our periods, we're straight away told to be ashamed, embarrassed, to hide. Do you remember that going to PE and you had your period and you were like, oh, please God, don't happen while I've got my sports uniform.
Do you remember the big fat giant pants that were like surfboards, and and having to hide them in your school bag, and you're like, and and sometimes you'd talk about it with your friends, but it was just like everything was about yuck. It was yuck.
It was.
Wasn't it? And
it was gross. Yeah. And so from that age on, we're just taught to like, oh, don't pay too much attention to it, don't talk about it. And so we disconnect from our bodily functions at that age. So it just gets worse and worse as we go on. So for me, I think there was a couple of landmark experiences in my life that showed me how disconnected I was from my body. And I got breast cancer when I was 40. And you know how everything that happens to you is adding to support you for the next thing that happens? Well, I'd always been a meditator. I would sit at an altar for years and meditate, and none of my friends got it. And then I started to be clairvoyant, and then it was like, I'm prepared, something's preparing me. Like what? And when I got breast cancer, it was like, this is why you've been a meditator since 1996, to give you the tools to be ready to go through the breast cancer. And before that, I had a mum who was emotionally neglectful. So I shut my heart down. You know how tender kids are just like, okay, she's so caught up in her own shit that she doesn't see me. It was a frozen, icy home. So you retreat, you shut down. And when you start to shut down in your body, you literally create physical tension, and the physiology of your body is depleted. And how long does that go on for, right? Years and years.
Yeah.
And you don't even know that your heart is closed, because you're functioning beautifully in society, but you're dead numb on the inside.
Wow. Yeah.
And you're numb because your nervous system has gone on this very clever journey through trying to get noticed, trying to get love, trying to do really fucking well at school so that mum will notice. Nah, didn't work. Nah, didn't work. Nah, didn't work. So your nervous system goes, okay, I will go into disassociation and I won't feel anything anymore. But on the surface, I'm fine.
And then the workaholics and all of that high achieving stuff, so you can get noticed, but it's all surface stuff. It's not the going within. That's a really that's a strange sort of paradox, because you were meditating, but still your heart was closed.
Because let me tell you, I went to a spiritual school for 14 years. They told me that your emotions, you should let your emotions go and not pay attention to them. And I was like, but emotions, and it was taking me further down the disassociated path, so that one day the rug would get pulled out from under me and I would go, disconnecting from my emotions is part of the problem. But I had to spend 14 years in this spiritual school teaching people the material and being a diligent student. And then we got to the end of the 14 years and I found out that the people running the school had been lying about where they'd sourced the teaching material from. They'd said it was from a guy in India, and we found out, blah, 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 that it wasn't, and that they had been imposing themselves as a spiritual teacher from India and giving us this material.
So it wasn't really a true, divine information. No.
And can you imagine, JC, after 14 years of following, like dressing the way that they suggested, which was, please don't wear jeans to class. Could you wear a long skirt, please? And my friends were like, Mel, you're in a cult. I'm like, but no, there's some good stuff coming from this. So I got from that what I needed, which was contemplation, stillness, the love of silence, the capacity to surrender to something higher, to read scripture, to read the Vedas, to read the Bhagavad Gita. And so I got all the things I needed, but I also got all the red flags. Hang on, this is not the path for you. So I'd handed my spirituality over to this school, basically. And you know what happens when you do that.
Absolutely. Yeah. So all of this is preparing you for your journey. Breast cancer. That's amazing.
So breast cancer was an observation of my physical body. So I was able to be non-attached to my physical body, the cancerous thing that got poisoned with the chemo. And I actually remember hovering like in the chemo room above my body, watching a nurse covered from head to toe in gloves and protective equipment and a gown come up to me with a needle and say, I'm going to put this in your body.
The poison.
And that was a moment where it was like, this is how serious this issue is. But I literally just observed my body go through it, knowing that I was not my physical body, that I was this soul and spirit, and that breast cancer was here to teach me something. And that was like a massive, like, wake up, Mel, you don't feel anything, you don't know what anger is. Can you believe I didn't get angry with anyone until I was 42?
Whoa. See, anger to me, a lot of people have a lot of shame around that. And that to me, it's a very valid emotion to have and to express and to not shut down. It's very important. All emotions are important.
Well, yeah, and anger, anger is power. Anger is the fire element. And when it's done in a sacred way, then it's a catalyst for other people to be on the other end of it.
And for
when
action.
It's done correctly.
Catalyst for action, yeah.
So yeah, in the process of being poisoned with 12 rounds of chemo, I was brought to my knees physically. But I knew my spirit was going to soar. I just knew this is it. So everything's going to change now. And one day, and I shared this on Mark's interview, I was going for a walk in the year or so after, and I heard this voice say, you know why you got breast cancer? And it was because the women in the line before you didn't have the resources, emotionally, spiritually, physically, to be cancer patients, to go through that. But you took this for the team because you've healed this.
Wow.
You've healed this shut down heart because it was a left breast and the tumour was right in front of my heart.
Oh my gosh.
So
and it was speaking to you. It's saying, this is a metastasized thing. Look at this. Yeah. Wow.
Because our body is the tool which it's the only tool we've got to manifest our connection to our divinity. Yeah. So our body communicates with us. Something feels right or it doesn't. And it's become as simple as that. It either feels good to sit down and create this kind of business or talk to this person, or it doesn't. And when you've sifted through all of the density and all of the heartache, the fear, the resentment, when you've allowed that to be processed, your body becomes that receptacle. And then you can go into the light codes and then my cells are doing this. But when you've got years of feeling nothing, how on earth can your body bring that through, Jace, right?
That's right. This takes me to a lot of people who say, I can't meditate, because, they're all up in their head, but that's part of the body awareness thing. And it is the key, as you know, Melissa, the meditation and going within is the key to all of this. It's the key to all of these relationships and healing the self and knowing. So tell us about, so you've done many things in your life that have led to this. And I said to you yesterday when I was talking to you that a lot of it had to do with body awareness. A lot of it has to do with, because you came from speech therapy, you've done all this amazing work that's just led you to, you're a Pilates instructor as well, but you, in essence, in all of these things, you're a coach, right? And you're a mentor, and you're a sum of all these amazing experiences. So after you've had this experience, you were married when you had cancer, and suddenly at a very young age, when we're very vital and we love sex and all of that, you get that taken away from you with menopause, right? And you have this premature menopause that occurs to a lot of women through surgical means or surgical intervention, okay? So where are you then at that point? What makes you then learn from that to then share that with others? What is it that happens to you?
I remember in the 6 months after chemo finished, sitting in my car at the local park, sobbing and dreading going home. And I was like, okay, this is the emotional fallout of the physicality of what just happened. So that was like, so once our body survives the traumatic event, death of a loved one, whatever, once our physical body gets us through that, the house of our soul, then all of the aftermath can come, and the flood of what felt like depression. And I went to the GP to get, help, because you can get like a number of psychology appointments for, you know, a mental health plan. And of course, the first thing the GP says was, do you want antidepressants? And I knew no. I knew if my physical body could survive chemotherapy and rebound back on a 3-weekly cycle to be having the strength to go to Woolies and do the shopping, my body was going to get me. If it can recover from the decimation that chemo was, to now I can function and have a conversation with someone, I'm going to follow my body's lead, right, and not suppress anything anymore. So I started seeing a kinesiologist, right, and laying on the table, and very, very quickly started to have visions of myself at different ages, curled up, hiding in my body, like behind the rock that was my liver, cowering like this. And all this clairvoyant stuff kicked in, and it's like, fuck, I need to deal with every single one of these versions of me that I haven't loved up. They're all waiting for me.
So you had to integrate those parts of yourself, right? Yeah.
I had to pay attention to them. I had to let them come out. And we become the parent of the inner child within us that froze in time, because at that age, nobody was, and I remember I was 8, I was 12, I was 9, like I knew the dates that these things happened. Wow. And I've got goosebumps remembering all of this. And so she was using essential oils, she was using kinesiology. It was like they were the doorways for me to start to follow my body's lead. It's like, okay, so I need to sit and I need to cry that and have the flashbacks. And then I just learnt things like, well, now that she's here, I can have a conversation with her. And like, let her know, like, what do you need from me? And I literally would have this conversation, and this would happen. We'd have a good cry, and then I'd get on with life and make the lasagna and be a school mum and, you know, take the kids to band and all of that. And then a few weeks later, it would be like, oh man, some more stuff is coming. So my body's portals of compressing and repressing events were gradually opening up as my spirit or whatever could tell it's starting to be safe now. Right. She's paying attention to us now. Right. So my body would integrate the sadness or the whatever, and then a few weeks later the next one would come. And this just went on and on. I went to India once for 3 weeks. My husband and my son went on a trek in the mountains and did high altitude, you know, big boy stuff. And I stayed in this guest house in this town in India for 3 weeks by myself. I played chakra meditation, and I did 2 hours of mantra before I would let myself leave this guest house and go and get breakfast, because I wanted to devote 3 full weeks to let everything come up inside me that needed to come up. Wow. And I was just gifted that opportunity. And then I love India. Like, I've spent a lot of time in ashram, and like that reconnection, I feel like I must have been in India or Hindu or something at some stage, because I feel very at home, particularly in the Himalayan mountains. That started to happen. And then my clairvoyance exploded, and I would be sitting at my altar out there at 4 a.m, because I was quite disciplined, and I would start to see male and female energies. And it was like this whole world just opened up, because I had paid attention to releasing what was stuck in my body. And one of the most incredible fucking things that happened to me was I went on the Larapinta Trail, which is a 240k walk in the Northern Territory of Australia. Incredible Indigenous connection. What a privilege, right, to be on that land. And we went on this 12-day retreat, and I went with women, and we were in silence until lunchtime. On the land, held in this Indigenous energy, and walking through these gorges and through these rock formations. And 3 times during that trip, 3 different age groups of me came into my consciousness. One day I was swimming in a gorge, and I was my 9-year-old came up and she said, it's really awesome down at the bottom of, I've got goosebumps up my legs. It's really awesome at the bottom of the gorge. Do you mind if I go and play with the kids down there?
Oh,
and that was like her saying, you've done what we needed to do. Can I go now? Now, can you imagine what that felt like, that I had been able to do that for her, that she felt safe enough to go off on her own now. And then a couple of days later, there was a teenage me who, I was on a precipice of a rock formation with valleys down the side, and there was eagles soaring, JC, and I looked at them, and my teenage girl come out and she said, is it all right if I just jump off here and go fly with the eagles? And I was like, absolutely, my love. And she went. And then the pinnacle one on the last day was we got up in the dark and we walked up onto Mount Sonder. Now, if you look at Mount Sonder from a distance, it's a pregnant woman laying on her back.
Wow. Yeah.
Very significant, Indigenous, incredible. We went up there, and unbeknownst to me, it was the first day of the new Mayan calendar, and I knew nothing about that then.
Wow.
So we watched the sunrise in silence. And I'm not kidding you, I have a photo of this. The cloud formation with the sunrise came up, and there was a Mayan mask in the clouds.
Wow.
The eyes, the nose, and the mouth with the light shining through. And I had a woman to my right who would get this too, and I looked across at Linda, and like, those moments that happen to you, those moments of grace where you feel you are being held,
yeah,
that's what comes as a consequence of paying attention to what is held inside you and patterned and been ignored. Anyway, the 5-year-old came out, and there was boulders, and she said, do you mind if I go and run along these boulders and play with the kids? And what better place than on Mount Sonder, a pregnant woman on her back, for my littlest one to ask if she could go.
Wow.
I mean, this was in the space of 12 days. And the reason that this happened was because I had tended to the garden, tended to their needs, very simply, through letting them have a voice. And your clairvoyance and your all of those beautiful skills that we have access to are your toolkit.
Absolutely.
To being with your humanness. And so, I mean, that's just a little example of the signs that I was getting that I was on the right path.
Yeah.
And I just knew that this would lead to me being able to help other people with this, because that's why it happens, right?
And this is the magic. This is the magic of going through the journey yourself as a coach and a healer and a mentor. And I can see in you, I mean, for someone who is saying that your heart was blocked all that time, you're completely heartfelt and heart-centered. And you know, this is the wealth of knowledge and the passion that you have is exactly why I wanted you to come onto the show and speak to everybody, because it's inspiring. Okay. And and the audience is always looking for this. They are looking for that example in others. And now, so I want you to get to explain what it is that you do on a typical thing, or what it is that, because you've got a PDF, you've got a couple of PDFs actually, right? And you've got a wonderful coaching program. And all of these amazing experiences for you have come together so that you can present this to other people and facilitate them in their journeys. So tell us more about what happened to you through menopause, so that you can, or give us examples of what is typical of what happens when we're going through this transformation. You already had the transformation with the chemo, and then you came out the other end of it, and now you've got to deal with the relationship that you were in and what happens there. And there's so many women out there right now watching who are going through this or are about to go through this. So tell us more about that stuff.
Yeah. So I didn't have the gradual decline, or that's the wrong word, the gradual journey
transformation
into menopause.
journey.
Right, with the period slowly disappearing and the occasional hot flushes, I literally just woke up and had no sex drive.
Yeah.
Sex was painful, and there was this next shock to the system to deal with. And what I remember thinking was, I've just spent the last however many years solo on my inner journey. Now I have to bring another person into it, because this is about the container of us now, not just me. So it was like, that's why I've had this phenomenal spiritual cocoon to traverse through, so that I could then go, okay, now I've got the capacity and the skills to be in relationship with my husband as well. Not that I was ever responsible for his journey, but there is you, there is your partner, and then there's the relationship. There's three of you traveling through this, and they all have their own stuff going on. So I'm not kidding you, it was about 8 years of no sex, which is kind of embarrassing to say. Well, it used to be embarrassing to say, but I've discovered it's quite common that couples that have been together for a while don't actually have sex anymore, it seems, for whatever reason. So we would try not to be here in the house at the same time. I would sit on the couch next to him to watch a movie and try not to actually touch him. I would literally get changed when I knew he wasn't going to come down into the bedroom, because I was constantly looking for ways to avoid the elephant in the room, which is there's no intimacy anymore and there's no sex, and we're in our early 40s. This is sad.
Wow.
And I let that go on for a while, just knowing at some point I was going to have the chutzpah to address it. But it was like I trusted my body, my inner guidance. You need to grieve, you need to be with you, and you know, Mel, that one day you're going to be able to come up to this man who is a beautiful man, but was fully unresourced in how to be with his own frozen nervous system around me.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got two nervous systems, not knowing what to do. So the relationship is... there is no relationship. It felt like I had a roommate. Actually.
It's like a dead relationship, right? It's
yeah. And then one day we were standing just behind me actually, and I said to him, "We need help." And he said yes. And that was all he needed to say.
Wow.
That one word. I didn't need him to tell me his whole story. I just needed a moment in time where he acknowledged his vulnerability by just saying yes. And so I sought professional help. Now, a sex and intimacy coach is not for everyone. I don't think every woman needs them, but I wanted to give that marriage everything. Because he's a really good man.
Mm.
And I didn't think that we would separate. I thought I'd be together with his name's Alan. I thought I'd be with Al forever. And I wanted to honour him and honour us by doing everything I could. Because he'd been through so much with me getting breast cancer as well. I mean, imagine watching your loved one go through that and be so powerless. There's nothing he could do other than make sure our son was okay and pay the bills and all of that. Anyway, so we had professional help. And in that container, what that meant was that all our shit came up with someone to facilitate and support. Because, as I say, all the skeletons in the cupboard, all the things about your relationship that you've been ignoring, all of the new things that are happening that you don't know how to put into words, and he just wants to fix it for you because he just wants you to be happy, because when you've got shits, it feels shit in the house. So if I just, they don't know what to do.
They don't know what to do.
You don't know what to do, and neither do they. And it's like, fuck, now this, So we got the professional help, and long story short, he wasn't prepared to do the inner work.
Okay. Right. Is he doing it now? Does it, now that you're right?
No,
Okay.
no. He it was a very embodied coaching container with Julia. She was phenomenal. She was a mature woman, been married for a long time. I didn't need some whippersnapper, sex coach that was like 23 and on Instagram all day. I was like, get me a woman that knows what it's like to be married for 21 years. Thank you. So I had full understanding of my own inner needs and been doing all my own inner stuff. He'd done next to none of that, but held me beautifully at my side while I did it all. And when he was asked to face into what was blocked inside of him in relation to our sexual relationship, he couldn't go there.
He couldn't go there. Mm.
And as soon as you know that, JC, you're like, I know enough about this stuff and what your potential is if you would go there, but you're not soul contracted to do it with me.
Right. And that's the point where a lot of people, because right now in Australia and across the world, people are stuck inside with their partners, okay? And there's this crucible of energy going on, and it's really heightened right now. And so all of this stuff is coming to the surface for people in their relationships, and problems that they didn't know they had are coming to the surface, or problems that it's making us face these truths, right? And so many people, so in your sessions, what you're seeing is not just people who are making it through that, but it's also that point where some people will have to face that realization that they can't be with that person anymore, right? You were talking about those opportunities that for many of us going through that stage in our relationships where you had this big event happening, and it's a transformation of the physical body of the woman, which affects that third thing, which is the relationship, as you said, the third partner in the relationship, or the third being. So in both situations, you've got the relationship that works and survives and goes through, and then you've got the other one where there's that realization of those two things. So there's people at home now watching this, and they're going through either one of those situations. What do you do as a coach when you speak to people, and you try to get them through these situations? What is it that you do? And that's a difficult question to ask. So you probably can't answer it in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Well, just talk about.
First of all, I just listen.
Yeah.
First of all, I just listen, right? Because people very rarely get the opportunity to get the full presence of another person to just speak. Mm-hmm. How often do we speak to someone and they don't even make eye contact with us? Mm-hmm. You can feel they're thinking about what they're going to say in response. Their nervous system is on heightened alert. Now, what is happening is our nervous systems are looking for safety. So when I speak to my client, my nervous system is in a calm state. And unbeknownst to them, what's happening is their nervous system in a heightened state is attracted to a calm nervous system. And you go in and you meet someone and you're like, oh, I really feel good about them. It's because of that nervous system resonance, that frequency, recognizing that frequency. Right. So first of all, I listen to them and just let them express, and this is energy moving already, just to say out loud some of the things that they haven't had the guts to say. And their own body, their own wisdom leads them through. And sometimes I don't have to say anything. They'll go on to this point of epiphany just by releasing the pressure valve. Letting someone hear them say, I'm not sure if I want to be with this man anymore, out loud, without any recrimination.
That's huge.
So listening is the first one. I create a safe place for them to actually be themselves. And isn't it sad that we might get to 50 or 60 or 41 and we've never actually allowed ourselves to express what we really have inside us. Look at the damage that that's caused in our society and communities. No wonder marriages are like 50-50 chance, right? Never mind menopause and breast cancer and whatever. So
we're redefining, and you're redefining relationships in general, in just what you're doing and bringing this out in the open, right? I mean, this is a huge topic. Tell us more about what it is that, because there's people that don't understand what happens in menopause, and I want you to sort of explain in a typical, whether it's through medical thing that's triggered it or whether it's a natural process of menopause, what actually happens to a woman, and then what happens quite often to the man in the relationship around that time. What's the typical thing that would happen for these people? Can you tell us?
Yeah, I mean, there's big hormonal changes in the woman's body that means she's no longer able to have a baby. So it's a movement out of fertility into infertility, essentially, in terms of description. And hormone levels change so that her responsiveness to sexual touch, her sexual desire, her ability to be moist and plump and yummy goes away because of the hormonal changes. Because your body naturally goes through transitions, like nature goes through summer, spring, autumn and winter. We're not immune from that. Our body goes through seasons. And menopause is a season where you are entering into an opportunity to not have to focus on childbearing anymore, but to be that wise woman. So physically, the skin is drying out, the hair thins, people get chin hairs. Shit. Last time I've got a magnifying mirror.
It's like, what?
And I was like, what the bleep is that? And it was like a fair one because I'm a blondie, but it was much longer than the rest. I was like, oh, fuck, this is the next thing. So, and you know, that's happening. My bikini line feels like it's on a chase for my kneecaps right now with lockdown. Like, all of that stuff changes, right, because of the hormone levels. And so the hot flushes is another big one. And that's like the whoosh of the heat coming through you. And people talk about that more than anything. And men often give a lot of feedback, like, we've got to have the bloody doors open for her. And it's like 20 degrees. You know, it's freezing out there. So the hot flushes is a big one. And the vaginal dryness is the other big one. And if you go looking for help, that seems to be all they talk about, right? And so all of these physical symptoms.
It's all about the hole, right? It's just about the hole. Don't worry about the rest of it.
Never mind about her and her, you know, her grief at the loss of her fertility or her sex drive. Like, women have to grieve. This is a very big change. And at the same time, they've got a man who's like, no idea what to say to her, terrified. And Alan said this to me many times. He said, I'm terrified that you're going to leave me over this because our relationship, like, so that's already come into the mix as well. So you've got these two people that are afraid of hurting each other emotionally and physically. So you just avoid the sex. And that goes on and on and on. And unfortunately, intimacy and sex both get affected.
And you've got the man who wants to fix everything, but also sex, if he can't give it to her, then he's useless, and all of those sorts of emotional things going on. And
often erectile issues because the bloke's not getting much. And at that age, that's when some guys can start to struggle to get a hard on. So that was happening at the same time as I was menopausal. It's like, oh man. So men will go and get Viagra tablets or do whatever. But, you know, if a woman doesn't have a desire for sex, you don't want to push your wife into having sex and making her. And so they retreat. And they're like, I'll be responsive to you, like you let me know. And years can go by.
And that's where the man cave comes in, and they go and hide. So I've got your one of your PDFs up here, which is Sex After Menopause. And I love that. It's like, you are so much more than your dry vagina, which could have been worse. You are so much more that, I was just going to say you're so much bigger than your dry vagina. So much.
You have so much more offer, so much to offer than a dry vagina.
Or you're so much drier than your big vagina. Yes. So, and this is actually, I went through this, and so this is like, it's a little bit of a mini workbook thing. Yeah. And this is for both the man and the woman in the relationship, or same-sex relationship, because sometimes when you've got two women in a relationship, one might be going through menopause and one might not be going through menopause yet. And so that is still going to have a different dynamic and a different experience. And there's still going to be that fear, insecurity coming through, where whatever our partner's going through, we're taking it on board for ourselves. And I think that's one of the biggest issues, is that we're taking it as though I did something to them, and how, so that's a really,
I don't turn her on anymore.
Like, I don't, and then there must be something
then
wrong.
Your self-worth is affected, and you can
so this is
around it for a long time.
This is a 22-page one. And did you want me to show the other?
So this one you're looking at. Yeah, the previous one.
Yeah,
the previous one is a freebie. Okay, the previous one is you need to start to face up to some truths, and these 3 soulful shifts are 3 aspects that I want you to start to look at, because the end result hopefully will be great sex, but there's a few steps in between, and this is about your emotional intelligence, and I've got journal prompts. So you're actually going to start to like write out what's going on for you and start to open that Pandora's box.
Yep.
But you get to do this on your own, at your own pace, and your fella can do this for himself as well, about how your menopause is affecting him. So there's a bit of a rah-rah cheerleader blurb here at the beginning.
Yep.
And then I get into the 3 soulful shifts, which this is a little practical exercise. And if you do this and you think, yep, I'm intrigued, she's speaking my language, I like it, then I've got the paid workbook, which is the next one along. And this is the page. And this is very much about menopause, the big picture of menopause, and how your personality, how anxiety, how
I won't show all of it, but okay.
That's just the sales page.
Sorry, darling.
That's all right.
That's for sure.
But it's like, let's look at menopause from the big picture, and then hone down into how is it affecting my relationship, how is it affecting my personality, what resources do I have inside? If I'm a spiritual woman, maybe spirituality, maybe I'm opening up into my spirituality as a consequence of menopause. Maybe my marriage is going to thrive and I can bring him in. Maybe it's going to
maybe this is the first time you're going to feel really yourself for the first time in your life. Because, this is the stage where now I don't need to worry about having children. Now it's me time. So this is all of this amazing turnaround. You've also got, I just wanted to show everyone really quickly, and I don't have Facebook, so I can't open this, but Melissa Turnock has a Facebook page as well, if you're on Facebook, and also a YouTube channel, which I am delighted in saying, please subscribe to Melissa's YouTube channel, because she does very regular, she's got a lot of resources here, and all these little short videos have all got some amazing knowledge in there. She does do lives, and she's even got some self-healing tips. Now, Melissa's got so much, she's such a wealth of knowledge, okay? So she's not just got this coaching knowledge and years and years, decades of experience in that, because in different modalities that have all come together to this sort of very sensitive person as well, but also the physical body, knowing the physical body, being a Pilates coach in itself, it also is assisting this, and also in the resources that Melissa has got. So I'm gonna put all the links for these down below. So you've got the free PDF for everybody, the free PDF. I'm going to put her links for her Facebook page and her YouTube channel, but also another link that will allow you to buy the paid one. Is that correct? Is that the one?
Yes.
And then we've also go on.
The paid one has an audio book version as well that you can get if you like to listen while you live, as I say. And I also have a special offer for your listeners for 1 week after this call goes up as well, which I'll talk about whenever you tell me to.
Excellent. So let's talk about that, because you've got Melissa here. So as you can see, so if you feel that you need the help, you've got 1 week to take the opportunity for this deal, which is amazing, which is you're getting to try out Melissa pretty much as a coach. Yeah. So
come and play, come and play.
Yeah.
I mean, as I said to you, just being listened to by someone who has walked the path ahead of you is like opening the container of possibilities. I always talk about there are so many possibilities about how your life can go forward from here. Let's open up the energetic possibilities and start to let you transmit what's going on for you out, so that what is out there available and waiting dormantly to empower and resource you can come in. So for 30 minutes, I'm really happy to spend time with anyone that wants to sign up so that they can have someone hear them out, and I'm going to just support you with one next step that I think you can take from here based on what you've told me.
That's fantastic.
And so that's half an hour. It's $111 Australian, which is much cheaper in all the other currencies. But it's just for 1 week, and I may not get to all of you in the 1 week, but you can purchase it for the 1 week, and then we will communicate together, and I will book you in.
Fantastic.
And I think sometimes this stuff is so personal and so raw, JC, that it's like, how do I know I'm going to trust this person to talk about this really intimate stuff that I've maybe never gone to before? So I need you to feel 100% okay with talking to me before I feel like we're going to be a good match to work together anyway.
Absolutely. Just like with any therapist or coach. Absolutely. And also, if you're a man listening to this and you know something's not quite right with your wife since, or your partner since there's been a change, and you're watching this and you're scared to tell her about this, you could also take the opportunity to do this coaching on your own, to start it, to get the ball rolling, right? So you're happy to have male clients as well, right, Melissa? So
absolutely. Absolutely. And, you know, the blokes have got their skeletons in the cupboard too.
Absolutely.
You know, and I mean, what a gift to a marriage, to a relationship, if a man stepped into the container of owning his shit, because then you get to bring the fruits of that. It's not just about you feeling better about yourself and healing. It's about you then bringing that into the container of the relationship. I mean, a woman, she'd just friggin' wet herself. Right? A woman in our world would wet herself if her man was prepared to do that for the relationship. Amazing. I mean, that's when the divine feminine opens herself up. Never mind opens her heart. She opens her legs to the man that stands up and says, you are my queen, and I am prepared to face what I need to keep this union going. I mean, that is the best fucking thing a man can ever do for a woman. And it's so rare. You know, you see these men out there that are like this, and it's like, you're gold, you're a treasure. So I encourage the men, you're not just doing it for yourself. Like, your woman will access parts of herself in response to your leadership in this way.
Absolutely.
And if she doesn't,
it's amazing.
And if she doesn't, then you know that relationship might not be right for you. And that's the conclusion that Alan and I came to, was we were done. And that was a successful outcome for us, because we gained clarity, we got to know each other, we did everything that was being asked of us. And then it was clear, and all my fear about, oh my God, I'm not financially independent. Oh my God, where am I going to live? What's my mother going to say? Because she adores him. All of that went, JC, because I'd
honoured yourself.
I'd honoured myself, and I was so clear, this is the next step. And come what may, my life will be okay, because this is truthful for me, and this is me living my life.
What an amazing process. And life is just so juicy, isn't it? Because it's just like, even through all the mistakes and all the stumbling, and this thing, which is it's the elephant in the room that everybody talks about, menopause, it doesn't have to be a deal breaker, and it doesn't have to be the end of everything, right? It can be the beginning. So even with that, pushing on your relationship and the difficulty, you're facilitating people to get through that and understand themselves and to let go and open up, right? Wherever they may be in their own emotional development. That's what I love about you. Is there anything else that you want to talk about, that you want to let people know, or any other story you want to tell us in this process before we wrap up?
Yeah. This this kind of work needs to be done slowly. You're not going to unravel 50 years of your history in a foul swoop, because when we start to open these places within us, there is a lot of energy that moves, and then the body needs to spend time integrating that. So I get concerned when I hear people say, I had an energy healing session on Monday night, and then on Wednesday I went to a sound healing session, and then on Friday afternoon I'm going to go and get, network chiropractic. Your physical body is way behind your spirit and your divinity, and it's going, slow down.
Yeah.
So whatever way you start to open up to the skeletons in the cupboard, it has to be done with such respect for your poor old body, which you have basically ignored for the last 30, 40 years, right?
Yeah.
And gone, come on, let's get up, let's go. This doesn't feel right. No, still just ignore. Take it easy. Take it really slowly. Any practices with our nervous system and our emotions, treat yourself the way you would treat your own child going through such a journey. And
patience.
Honor.
Yeah,
yes,
honoring.
But patience, trust, and surrender. I like, if I could get a tattoo, if I was gold, patience, trust, and surrender would go down the inside of my arm, because you are being divinely guided. If you have the courage to go into this kind of self-healing, self-transformational journey, you're in relationship with your soul. And when you are in relationship with your soul and what you came here to do, you are gifted left, right, and center with every fucking resource you need to make it happen. You've seen that, and I've seen that.
Yep, absolutely. You flow, you step out of your own way, and you flow and surrender, and that's part of it. And I am going to do a video about that. The patience, trust, and surrender. So I know I do a lot of sexual talk and all of that, and that bawdy sort of thing, but it's not about just a dick in a hole, okay? So that's basically what you can see, is that sex is bigger than just the act. It is about the emotional bonding of two beings together and expressing not just their love, but their trust for one another. And it's a sum of what they're feeling at that moment, and it's coming together. And that is for greater sex. So imagine going through this coaching. This is what I'm imagining, is you've come out the other end of menopause, or you're going through it and you're learning new ways of communicating and learning new ways of meeting each other on the same level. The sex will be phenomenal, because it's going to be a new type of intimacy that you've never experienced before, right? And that's why this is important.
The good sex is the consequence of it.
Yes.
It comes as a result of, because the woman can open up and receive without fear. The man is able to follow her lead and listen to her without being triggered by her. Because she is coming from a place of love in the container of the relationship, because she has reconnected to that self-love. That was one of the biggest things for me. All this self-love journal bullshit, it's like self-love. When you get access to that, which then everything comes from there. But you can't do that. You can't find that place intellectually through affirmations, all of that stuff. You have to let go of what is in the obstacles between you and the self-love and the magnificence that you are. And then that's your reference point. And you get to look at your partner through different eyes. You get to feel compassion for their difficulties and their stress. And when I was able to look at Alan through those eyes, it was like, I can feel your pain now. And you're not the enemy, and you're not the one to be afraid of. And we're in this together. And then a man will step into that arena with you.
Right. And you're not coming from fear or control, which is what most people are coming from in every step of the way in a relationship. We've been conditioned to believe that we have to control the other. Oh no, what if they don't do this? What if they don't? And especially when you're in survival mode. Okay, so there's so much here that we can unpack, but I just love your effervescence and your vibe and your desire to help people. So tell us again, where can we find you? I'm going to put all the links below, everybody. I'll put it in a pinned comment as well as the description of this video. But tell us, where is the first port of call for people to find you? And will you let people email you? Do you want me to put your email address as well?
Well, my email is on the top of the page about the paid product, hasmel@bodywisdom.com.au at the top right. So yes, absolutely email me. I think my YouTube channel is where I'm like transmitting all my stuff, because in those videos you get to feel like we're having a chat. So go to my YouTube channel, make a comment on my video, and I always go in on Mark's video. I made a response to every single person that commented, because if someone can give you 50 minutes of their time, like, that's a really rare thing. So make a comment, send me an email. My I'm doing my very best to get out of the Facebook land. But just yesterday I got a message through my Facebook page from someone that watched Mark's interview. I don't even know if she found my Facebook page, but people do. But yeah, email is fine. And the YouTube, like, I want to go on, like you do, I want to go onto YouTube and have live conversations with people.
We're going to have to create a Dr. Feelgood. Remember Dr. Feelgood? Remember? And
Dr. Badgegood.
Dr. Badgegood on a podcast or something, a Friday night podcast, and we'll, and you can answer all those questions. I think that's the way to go eventually. But for now, guys and girls, take advantage of Melissa's generous offer in the half-hour sessions that she's going to give you, so that all the links are below. You can take the opportunity to meet with her and have a half-hour session to get a feel for moving forward. Also, there's the free ebook, the free PDF link, and then there will be another link that I'll put below of a paid ebook, I believe, and all the other descriptions in that below. Thank you so much, Melissa, for being here. I just love speaking to you.
My face is all red. I get so excited about this stuff. I get all flushy.
Oh, I love it. Well, there's so much more. Exactly. There's so much more to talk about, and we're going to end it there. Everyone, check her out. See you later.
Thank you.
Bye. We're having a great conversation, so we're just going to record this. So talk about surrender, because this is huge. Go.
So if you can, like, surrender into allowing the other person to make their mistakes, to do them, then every trigger that comes at you that you think, oh, should I step in? Oh, this is making me feel like X. All of those triggers are your little gifts for you to face into and address. And I think it's like a jigsaw puzzle. We're putting the jigsaw puzzle of who we really are back together, and take it and own it, because they're just pinging you like things that are your stuff.
It's our stuff, right? Yeah.
Right? Yep. And then you do your integration, you do your meditation, you do your crying. And then you feel this place of centeredness, which is you coming home to that central 0 point, whatever you want to call it. And then you can turn back into that relationship, and you are open
and whole and non-resistant, and not from a place of fear. That's exactly what I was thinking. Wow.
Yeah. So come into that.
And that's not just intimate relationships, that's parent-child relationship, any relationship basically is that surrender and allowing people to be themselves, because everyone's on their journey, and this is on a global scale. They're experiencing this. Everyone wants to tell the unvaxxed, you should be vaccinated, and all the ones that they want to tell you, why are you doing that? It's going to kill you. Everybody's coming from these angles, and it's literally like every soul has a journey that we don't know about. We don't know what their soul contracts are. We don't know what their karmic the karmic implications are of all these things. All we can be responsible for is ourselves. And the greatest gift of love, this is what I realized this morning in my meditation, that was huge. The greatest gift you can ever give someone is to allow them space to be themselves, to make mistakes, and you're holding them with love.
At the edges. You're holding them at the edges, ready to be there. Yeah. Because who are you to get in the way of their evolution?
Exactly. And this is the thing. This is the twin flame trap. This is the twin flame trap that people have. It's like, but they're bonded to me, and if they do this, then this is going to happen to me, and then I need to do. You can't. You literally have to be at that point of, and you were talking about like that menopause is, it's like this. It's amplifying everything, right? And it might come to the point where you're like, maybe this relationship isn't the right one for me. That fear of having a relationship end is the biggest thing that is also causing most of the problems in people's relationships, because that fear creates control, and it creates the control of the other person, and it causes angst in ourselves. We take everything personally because they shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't be speaking to me like that. Why are they doing that? And it's all our stuff. And when you reach, which I reached this morning in this meditation, holy fuck, it was the quickest, most impactful meditation ever. I reached this point of, I have to be okay with not having this relationship. I have to be okay with, what if it doesn't work out? Okay. I still need to be at that point of, I don't need to know the outcome. I need to flow with the energy of where it's at and where they're at, and just be. And that's actually freeing.
Very.
So it's the opposite of what you think. So there's a lot of people out there who are going, I've got to just show them love and I've got to control, and I've got to make sure they ring me, and I've got to make sure that they do, and they've got to call me for this amount of time, and we've got to make sure we have sex this amount of time, and we've got to do this, and otherwise it's not valuable, right? And then when you let go of that need to control, is actually the most freeing thing ever for both of you. So if you've got, I want to ask you this question. If you've got one person doing the work, let's say that they really got to that point of 0 point, and they're like, I'm just going to hold them in love, right? And let's say the other person's still not there yet, but they're doing their thing, and this person's allowed them to know, listen, I'm not going to control you, but I'm here, right?
Yeah.
What happens does that person pick up on that frequency? Does that person pick up on that stable, centered frequency if they're not quite the match to that yet? Or will that calm them down? How does that work when you've got a person in a relationship that is, do you know what I'm saying? It's like, because you're not always going to be like that. You're going to have up and down like that all the way through. Yeah.
It depends.
Yeah.
It could repel them. It could trigger their ego so much, like, oh, fuck you and your spirituality and your calm presence, and take them further into their like self-defense mechanism. It could make them feel so safe that they open their heart and they say something to you that they've never said before. It depends how safe they're feeling in letting themselves really be seen. Because we spend a lifetime hiding who we really are. And when someone presents us with the opportunity, we then are in that moment of choice of, do I soften into her hold and her gaze? I think you could get all sorts of outcomes, but you're presenting them with an option, JC, that they've maybe never had before. So they get to choose. It's always a choice moment.
And then you, as the centered person, have to be okay with whatever they choose. You literally have to go, okay.
Because if you're not, then you're just still being triggered by your stuff.
Yeah.
Right? Their behavior is a catalyst for you to keep checking in. Am I still centered? Am I still okay with this? Am I surrendered? Because every time you get pulled out of that, it's like, here's the next thing I need to focus on for myself. But if you're doing the work and the partner's not, if you are in 5D and you really are truly heart-centered, it won't matter to you what they do. No. Whether they stay or whether they go, whether they call or whether they don't. I made a Facebook Live about this the other day. The only reason your family members get triggered by you choosing not to get the jab is because they're not 100% sovereign in their decision-making around getting it. If they were, it wouldn't matter what you do. They would be fine with it. But they're looking for external validation all the time that they've made the right decision. And when you come in with your confidence and your simplicity and your love and you say, I'm not going to get it, you're not validating their decision, so they're triggered because they made that decision from fear or lack.
Amazing.
But if they made that decision from a place of there is no choice but for me to get this because it's the right thing to do, it wouldn't matter what anyone else did, JC.
It wouldn't.
But this is why everyone's so triggered and there's so much argy-bargy, because these decisions are not being made from a heart-centered place.
No, they're not. But we literally now, in everything that we do, are being triggered so intensely in order to transmute this stuff to get to that 0 point or to get to that neutrality. That's in everything. It's not just in the way we receive the world or in the way that we interact with the world. It's in the way that we interact with each other, ourselves. Understand that the only thing you can control in this entire universe is how you react to things. That's literally, that is the key. And in knowing yourself and these things that you do, like this coaching and the information that you give is so vital, because with every single thing that we watch, so every single video that we watch of yours or every single piece of information that we embody and take on, we're stripping the layers and finally getting back to that core of who we are. We have to be willing to do the work. It's not okay. We were talking about this off air. It's like there's so many people learning the language of the 5D Ascension New Age stuff, and it's all up here. And it's okay to read a book and learn about this, but you really have to embody it and go through it and ground it and feel it and come back to that place of as you said, what did you say, coming home? Like you come to that place.
Remembering yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, why do you think we're on this ascension path? Exactly. So that we can embody it in the way we act in our everyday life and help the 3Ders. Because it's not for our own good, right? It's not so that we can float above the dickheads and go, holier than thou, I'm on my way back to my galactic origins. You wouldn't have a fucking human body if that's what you're about.
We're here to make the mess. We're here to fix it as well. We're here to learn. This is another big thing I came up with this morning. This meditation was huge. This realization of you're not supposed to know the future all the time. You're really not. You're not supposed to, because it takes away from the journey that you were supposed to, you can have goals and things like that, and you can have visions of where this is headed. Your certain actions there's a likelihood of certain things happening, but every single thing in this world going, can you just tell us it's going to be okay? Well, that defeats the purpose of the journey, because the journey is that what if it's not okay? What if you don't have hope? So what if you don't have hope? What if you just have you and now and this moment and this and all the yuckiness, and you've got to work through that, right? Yeah. That's literally where the resilience, the spiritual resilience comes from, and why this spiritual quarantine is important, because it's forcing you to look at yourself so that the collective can become ascended and not just you, right? Yeah. And it's just all the parts of God coming back to itself.
Yeah, yeah.
That's it.
And that's why we've been doing this for 20 plus years already, is to ready ourselves to, number one, not go crazy in this time and not fall in it. Because, you know, to be told that you can't go back to the job that you've just done for 3 years and everybody loved you, or that you can't come into this cafe, that's a painful human experience. But we've been readying ourselves for being able to be resilient through that and see that for what it is, and take responsibility for how we react to that situation.
That's where we're
and so many people right now they don't have any skill set to react to what's going on around them.
They don't.
So they are terrified and triggered and living in fear and projecting out onto all the rest of us, like, why the fuck don't you think like me? Just get the jab.
Yes. And it works
right?
both ways. It works both ways, right? So it works both ways. It works with the conspiracy theorists that are like, can't they see this? And I had a big argument with my sister the other day, just on text, because she's pro-jab. And I'm like, don't you see? And I was like, I don't interact with people who don't agree with me very much. I don't know how to talk to these people, right? And I was like, wow, she really believes it.
They do.
In her world, it is true. And in her world, where I'm coming from is completely false and weird and bizarre. And both truths are true. Both angles are true for that person. And we need to get to that point of not the split, right? We have to get to that centered point.
Being okay with it.
Being okay with it, that neutrality. And also, I had a massive lesson for me is I have to be, here I am, I'm like, lockdown? What lockdown? But guess what I've been doing? Been stuck in my apartment and just doing my own thing and talking to only people I like and avoiding calls from people who don't agree with me. That's not the way to be, because what you've got to be is you've got to be you in that centered space, despite what's going on around you, despite what the world is doing. That spiritual resilience only works when you're thrust into really difficult situations and you can be centered. There was a picture of a guy in South Africa protesting. He wasn't protesting, he was meditating on the beach when the beaches were closed. And it's this moment in time where he is literally just sitting there centered, doing his meditation, and there's cops surrounding him and threatening him, and he's just centered. That's literally how you have to be. You literally have to, and I'm not talking about being in a Zen pose. I just mean in knowing yourself and that all will be okay. Really we have to keep practicing that. We have to keep practicing the letting go, right? That's what I wanted to talk about. But this is great. So I wanted to record this little bit because we were chatting about this off air. Anything else you want to chat about? I
think what you just said is so true. They're in their truth and we're in our truth. So you get the choice of how you're going to be with those other people. And if you're really serious about your 5Dness and your heart-centeredness, that is the perfect playground for you to do that, because it will be your family members, the ones that really matter to you, that are like this. And when your own child, it doesn't have the same belief system as you, or someone that you care for very much, the universe is giving you an opportunity to practice your resilience and saying, you want to be heart-centered? You want to ascend? Here's your opportunity right now in human form. Go for it. Wow. And we get to practice over and over and over.
Yes. This is the gift. This is the gift.
Yeah. To the point where you don't actually, it becomes natural. So yesterday I went out for a paddle with the man that's told me I don't have a job as a Pilates teacher anymore unless I do the thing. And I was able to spend some time with him in conversation about all of this and say things to him like, how does it sit in your gut that you're going to turn away community members that have made your business build up and would happily contribute to you getting back on your feet when your door's open? How does that sit in your gut in telling them they're not welcome anymore? Now, that was, I could only say that to this man in a conversational, heart-centered way once I had developed the safety and the love behind that, not the, how could you do that? Like, what a discriminatory prick you are. And it was received with a conversation. Now, that kind of conversation can only happen because it's come from that place of centeredness. And then you know you're on the, you are mastering what is possible for you. And you practice it many times as you can. And power, God, the power and the self-love and the compassion that comes with that, it just gets easier and easier, right?
Self-resilience, spiritual resilience, isn't it? It is, absolutely. And then you feel good in yourself because you're like, wow, I didn't react. It wasn't the knee-jerk reaction I normally have. Yeah, that centeredness is the thing that we're all trying to master. That's what we're trying to master. This is the gift of this time in history. It's giving us this. It's giving us the contrast in order for us to practice neutrality and centeredness. The most extreme duality is being expressed on the planet right now in order for us to master neutrality. That's pretty much what's happening right now, I think. On that note, I think we should end this. This is going to be the after show little recording thing. Oh, I love you. Great. Awesome. See ya.